You always pass failure on your way to success. This is a famous quote, and it rings true for 62-year-old Moungi Bawendi. He's a professor at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This week, he won the Nobel Prize. He's the co-winner of the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. He got it for developing what are called quantum dots. These are nanoparticles. They illuminate when exposed to light. Bawendi's work has made our television screens brighter. It has made the treatment of liver disease more effective. But that's not the story we are telling you tonight. Bawendi is a brilliant mind, no doubt, but he did not get here without his fair share of setbacks. Throughout school, he excelled in science. He aced exams without breaking a sweat. So he made it to the Harvard University. But what happened next was a rude awakening for him. He flunked his very first chemistry test. Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, he flunked his college chemistry test. He got an F, the lowest grade in his entire class. He was devastated. He says the experience nearly destroyed him. You see, this man loved chemistry. He thoroughly enjoyed it. But he says he never learned the art of preparing for an exam. When he failed, he worked on it and he bounced back, and now he's won the Nobel Prize in the very same subject. Bawendi says this experience taught him a lesson. It showed him the value of perseverance. His story is inspirational. It's a story for everyone, for all of us. After all, who doesn't fail? We've all been there. Most of us have tanked a test, flopped on a big presentation, or failed a diet. Reports say 92% of people do not achieve their goals. 80% people fail their New Year's resolution by February, and I'm not trying to depress you here. I'm merely saying that failure is a shared experience. It is pervasive. It even has its own dedicated day, by the way. The International Day of Failure is October the 13th, and its own museum. The Museum of Failure, it's in Sweden. Most of us would love to visit this museum, even get a good laugh out of it. Yet we try our best to avoid failure. We fear it. In fact, the fear of failure tops the list of phobias the world over. 31% people suffer from it, from the fear of failure. That's 1 in every 3 people. Do you know how many people fear the paranormal? 15%. So people would much rather get gobbled up by ghosts than take a maths test. And the fear of failure haunts all age groups. Research says many college students fear public speaking more than death. And for 90% CEOs, the fear of failure is their biggest concern. Failure haunts people across countries too. More than half of Australians fear failure. The same fear drove more than 13,000 Indian students to suicide in 2021. And the situation is so bad in South Korea that their government is holding campaigns to help people overcome the fear. The question is, why are so many people scared to mess up? For starters, it's the education system, where the ultimate goal is to simply pass exams and not to learn. Failure equals being a loser. Research says overprotective parents are also at fault. In fact, Gen Z has a name for them: snowplow parents. They build a clear, perfect path to success for their child, shielding them from small risks and big failures. And on top of this, social media does not help. It turns every slip-up into an extinction-level cancellation affair. The truth is, none of this helps. Study after study says that failure is necessary. You usually have to fail to succeed. Apple co-founder Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. During his period of exile, he picked up a small graphics company. Later, it was named Pixar Animation Studios. He made Steve Jobs a billionaire. Michael Jordan was dropped from his high school basketball team. Today, he's called the GOAT. Early on, Oprah Winfrey was fired from her job as a TV news anchor. Today, she's one of the greatest TV personalities in the world. Amitabh Bachchan was rejected from a radio job because of his voice. Today, the Indian star actor is known for it. My point is, no one simply emerges at the top. Anyone with a resume of accomplishments has a resume of failures and humiliations too. The fear of failure is important, yes, especially for people with dangerous jobs like paratroopers or bomb diffusers, because for them, failure can have dire consequences. It's the difference between life and death. So how do they, much like anyone, tame their fear? By tapping into their reserves of courage. After all, to fail is human, but to rebuild oneself after it is an act of courage.